Hello everybody, this is Olive Branch and Maple Leaf once again with Let's Play Night in the Woods. It's been a long time since we've been playing this game because summer was there and I wasn't here to play it with you guys, but now we're back. But we're not playing Night in the Woods just yet. We left you with a bit of a cliffhanger with that gunshot. Instead we're going to be playing the second supplemental called Lost Constellation. Maple Leaf, are you excited for this?
Who's Maple Leaf?
That's you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what else is new in the world of Night in the Woods. May is immediately gonna rob a bank, so I'm into it.
Well, she has a... This is like Kitty May, because that's her granddad. If you remember Granddad, that's her granddad.
So tell me again what Longest Night is?
Longest Night, I'm assuming it's this kind of like universe's kind of Christmas time / winter solstice celebration, where people just get together with family, they go to church, they get together with family and stay together. You know, it's one of those kind of traditions, you know?
Alright.
So, this basically is the idea, like this whole supplemental, I'm not going to spoil much because of course I played through it, but this whole supplemental is basically working off the idea of Longest Night and what it's supposed to represent. And playing through it, I got a few of the vibes of why May is who she is in the main story. And how, you know, how this whole lore of the ghosts and why people want what they want is tied into this story, you know what I mean? So, May immediately going for the morbidity of saying, I want people to die in the story.
Well, it is a ghost story. That's how ghosts are made.
She just hopes to get a lot of ghosts then.
Playing as a crocodile.
Exactly. We're not playing, of course, as Beatrice or anything like that. We're
I am
playing...
immediately disinterested.
We're not playing as Be the Bay. I'm done. I'm done.
This guy does look familiar, though. Wasn't he one of the constellations?
Yes, actually it's she. This is Adina Astra. She is one of the constellations that, I believe in the main story, it's been a while since I've seen the video or played the game. I believe Mr. Chazakov has said something to the tune of, you know how she ended, right? She just disappeared off the face of the earth. And then he just asked us, do you think she died? And then one of the options was like, no, she's just out there having adventures. So, who knows? I mean, this
so here she is.
Yeah, we're basically playing a story, which is a lot of, I got a very Prince of Persia vibe playing this. And you're gonna laugh at one point later on because there will be a very Prince of Persia-esque time in this playthrough, and I think you're gonna get a kick out of it.
That's neat.
Yeah. So this is just teaching us, pick up snowballs and throw them. You have to interact with the world a little bit by doing that.
So what about this made you, or reminded you of Prince of Persia? Do you run across the walls at any point?
No, but we do run across the fact that, you know, we're playing through the story, like, all of that we're seeing here is basically our granddad making voices to May.
Okay, so it's like the storytelling techniques are similar.
Exactly, and there's an option where basically, you know how in Prince of Persia you died and the prince was like, wait, that didn't happen.
Well, that wasn't an option, that just happened.
It just happened, right, but I meant like if you were bad enough to die in the game.
Well, sure. I suppose being bad is an option.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's like, we're playing through Pyre right now, and we can throw matches for the hell of it, you know, just be like, you know what, I'm gonna fail this one.
Okay, that's completely different, because failing in Pyre is, it's a thing that the story works with.
Right.
Whereas in this or in Prince of Persia, if you fail, then you fail, and the guy says, wait, no, I fucked up. But in Pyre, if you fuck up, then the story just keeps going with it.
Yeah, which is, by the way, guys, if you haven't played Pyre or haven't, you know, you heard about it, but you're like, I'm not sure, get it. Like, get it and play it, enjoy it. It's, you may think visual novel, not my thing, but it's fun.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about Pyre.
No, even though we could sing his praises all day, we're here to talk about this cat being an asshole, saying we're gonna die.
Well, I had a joke there, but whatever.
What was the joke? Come on, tell me the joke. Tell me the joke.
Well, I was gonna say that we're not here to talk about Pyre, we're here to talk about literally anything except Longest Night. Because honestly, that's probably gonna happen, knowing that our habits when it comes to this LP.
Well, yeah, a lot of Night in the Woods is very like walk back and forth and like with bursts of action and introspection. And otherwise, it's just we're just shooting the shit. We're just here to have some fun. Longest Night. They had Longest Night in the past.
What did they call it? They called it Longest Night.
Well, yeah, it's the winter solstice, man. It's the longest night of the year. What are you gonna do? The night is dark and full of terrors.
Christmas is called Christmas no matter when you are, unless you're before Christmas.
I like the little jumping animation because her fez pops out of her head.
So what's our character's name again?
Adina. Adina Astra.
So this is just Adina going through the woods and clearly hallucinating.
Well, not necessarily. This is a story. It's not exactly a hallucination.
Father Patience Forget Not God.
That is a name.
So that you wouldn't forget God, I guess.
What was your name before? It was that mouthful.
Peter.
Butchie Mud. The whole point we're doing this is like at the very beginning of this, Adina is like, I made a promise. I have to go get a star. So it's like, all right, that's already kind of going to mystical land territory, you know?
Maybe the star is metaphorical.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she's actually just like getting a diamond or something. Even then, though, that's still pretty metal.
That is one dedicated rat.
Or pray or not, you ain't got all day.
Do you want to pray?
I mean, you may as well. We're here.
No.
Ugh.
No, I'm going through some of the options here because I'm like, what can I say to this rat to let me through? You want to pray? Yeah, sure.
I wonder, between creating this supplemental and how long it took to make the game, I wonder where the developers found the time to make it.
The supplementals?
Yeah, did they push back the release date so they can make this little side project?
You know what? That's a very good question. I'm not sure. I'm thinking that maybe they made it on top of the game because they're like, we want to add more. Instead of making expansions and stuff, let's just add more content to the side, you know?
Wouldn't that just do exactly what I said, though, where it pushes the date of the project back?
Yeah, sure, but I mean, they already had, I think, Night in the Woods had already kind of like been pushed back like almost a year. So maybe it wasn't so much these supplementals that took their time, and rather they were like, hey, we're having trouble with the programming and stuff, and maybe these supplementals were also kind of like practice, you know? So I like the fact that the little rat there said, a tree cannot be a god. I was going to take offense to that and be like, who says? Who says a tree cannot be a god?
Forest god is apparently not a giant bear.
He's not a mere bear. He's not a bear at all.
Or maybe he is. Who are you to say?
Yeah, really. Maybe it's in the eye of the beholder. Maybe the rat sees the god as the rat.
God is within all of us. Is there actual knowledge to find, or are you just going around?
There is knowledge.
Okay.
I'm just seeing to see because I like to imagine that we're pissing off this rat by making mockery of his prayer. A deer monster? The god is a deer monster?
That one was a total guess.
Adina is not the religious type.
I've seen Princess Moon, okay?
Hey, she's not from around here, okay? Don't judge.
I wonder what the crocodiles in this world sound like.
Very barky, have you've seen the John Oliver one about nuclear waste? They hiss. They go
That's the dead guy's hand.
Yep. That's a good omen. By the way, this entire path that we're going to be taking is entirely randomly generated. So the first thing I may find is not even the totem. I say this because I did a couple of test runs like through this to find out if I'm, how to play this a little bit. And the very first thing I ran into was actually this house. It wasn't a totem at all.
There's a dude smoking a pipe.
I like his, I got a very Banjo-Kazooie-ish vibe playing this supplemental because everybody but Adina has like a little bit of a noise when they speak. Do you want to buy a coffin? You never know. Sound advice.
The person who ends up in it doesn't know it.
Yeah, really.
This guy talks funny. Just the sound of it. Now that
He sounds like a furnace. You can get out heading west.
You can get out of the coffin?
No, like getting out of this forest. Because he's saying people die in here. Well, too bad. I'm going east. I'm an adventurer. I'm a protag, man.
Well, you only need to get halfway. So that's what this guy is saying, that the place is procedurally generated.
Yeah.
In that case, it makes more sense that this house would be within the first or second screens. Like, if this guy showed up halfway through, or, God forbid, towards the end, that wouldn't do you any good, would it?
Well, unless... I mean, you'll see why. You'll see that it's randomly generated, and I cut a lot of, like, the forward movement a lot, because sometimes we run into the same thing twice. We never have to backtrack in this game. We always have to just go forward because, you know, the trees are confusing our paths, so we're visiting places we've been to before. Even though we're always heading east. No money, no coffin. No coffin, no salvation.
Your ghost would be quite unhappy.
Yeah, really.
Which is fun for me, because we're talking about ghost stories. This is what you wanted.
Let's go bother him again.
You ever been lost in the woods?
I have not. I've taken lots of trips to the woods, but never been lost in them. What about you?
There was this one time. I went out to the backwoods part of my city, and my city is already at the very end of the highway. We're about as backwoods as possible. So I went out there, and there's a hiking trail that goes pretty deep into the woods. We're talking like 2 hours on foot. And I go in there, and I remember exactly how far I went before I turned around, because this was way back when I was still in school, and I would usually go there during my free periods. And I needed to make it back before my next class. But I got super fucking lost. I turned around and I thought I took the same path backwards, but apparently I didn't, and I got lost like deep into the thicket.
Jeez, man.
And I was lost in there for hours. I was lost in there until it was dark out.
That's like missing persons report filing right there.
Yeah, I know. And the only thing I had to go by was the light of the moon to get me through the forest. So what I did was I picked a direction that I thought had civilization in it, and I just walked straight there. I didn't look for any other paths. I didn't try to go around trees. Well, I went around trees, obviously, but I didn't try to alter my path by going around things. I would just go straight. And eventually I did get there by the time it was well past dark. It was like 7 p.m.
Jeez. And you've been out of the woods for like 6 hours at that point?
Something like that.
Jeez, man.
It was pretty spooky, and it's not something I want to do again. But I do, nonetheless, I want to go back to that hiking trail, just because, it's something about hiking trails. It's a pretty natural place to be, and you just kind of enjoy being around in there.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Shut up. I'm telling a story.
Too bad, we're building a snowman. Well, you've told your story. Now let's build a snowman.
That's pretty much it. I mean, clearly it had a happy ending. I'm here right now.
Yeah. No, you're not a dead body in the woods, gathering frost.
Give the snowman life.
Oh my God! It's Jack Frost.
So do the trees always move like that?
Yes, they do.
All right.
I know you said you had a bit of vertigo problems playing Night in the Woods with a constantly bobbing camera. I'm afraid that the supplemental has it too.
Would it be more merciful to just kill the snowman right now?
I'm just watering garbage. Well, yeah, you are.
He's just watering garbage, and he's clearly, like, deep in the center of a existential crisis right now.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I don't know what I am. Where's the forest god? That's clever.
It's also literal.
This supplement also has very animated speech bubbles.
Yeah, it does. I don't remember the proper game doing that.
This snowman is no help.
Kill it and make a better one.
Yeah, May, you're channeling your inner May by saying, well, this just ended him. End him.
Well, I'm asking if it's might be the better thing to do, because clearly the guy, like, he's... I don't know.
He's just having a moment.
And besides, it's not like... I don't know, he's only been alive for, like, 2 minutes. And May's got it right, you can just build him better.
Build him stronger. We have the technology. How's it going? What is going?
Alright.
Ah, a talisman of some sort. Let's grab it.
I could have skewered you in half. So is there literally nothing to do but just move right?
Yes. I mean, you move right, you interact with the world a little bit, because we're here to find a forest god, and most of the gameplay basically is hold right arrow or hold D and move forward, you know?
Alright, so how can we make this one any better?
Put the thing that we got on its face. That'll help, right?
Yeah, but put it where? Is it a cyclops? You put it, like, it's clearly an eye, so you put it, the eye there.
It looks like a Ouija board. It has a yes or no on the side, on its cheeks. Maybe it's like one of those readers? I don't know.
And then you put the carrot in the broken center.
Nah, just give it an eye and a mouth. That'll do.
Doesn't know what it is yet. I've created you better than before.
I have put a special thing on your face.
This guy's a little more placid. I'm still dead, so there's that.
That sucks.
Well, there you go. That's the spirit.
Oh, so this whole forest is basically a huge trap of spirits. That's pretty awful.
That is precisely how the Lost Woods work.
The Kokiri are here, and the Skull Kids are here. This actually reminds me a bit, you know that those woods in Japan where a bunch of people basically go to commit suicide in?
Yep.
Yeah, that's like, I imagine going through there if you believe in ghosts and that kind of thing, that could be an experience. Just be like, I feel the vibes, man.
I wonder what's up with that. The forest in Japan, I mean.
I don't know, maybe maybe it's a very spiritual place. I mean, maybe there was like one of those places that's like, hey, by the way, this little bit here, in their wings, in their trees, all things die, be at peace. That in their wings, in their trees, if you remember all the way at the very beginning of Night in the Woods when we could choose like the intro, remember that bit?
Sure. I mean, I do remember it, I just don't remember the options.
There was one option which is like, we could pick something our grandfather kept saying, and that was one of the options.
And the wings in the trees?
Yeah, and then I think we eventually chose something like about the gods or something like. I don't remember the exact line we chose, but I imagine that maybe these supplementals were done before the main game, because a lot of what happens in the main game is kind of like they're callbacks to these supplementals. So knowing then, if we knew then what we know now, first playing the game, that would be kind of an interesting bit to take, because they're like, oh shit, that happened in the supplemental, you know?
Specifically because of that, I'm thinking that the main game was not completed, but well on its way while these supplementals were done.
Yeah, maybe they were supposed to be like, I didn't show it because it wasn't this. It was a splash screen before the Lost Constellation popped up, but there was a little warning or a little notice before the game starts saying, "This is not a demo of Night in the Woods. This is a supplemental. For more information, go to the website." Right? So I imagine that maybe it did come out beforehand, and it was supposed to be like, yo, this is to whet your appetite, or to get to know these characters a bit, you know?
So the snowman is talking about seances.
They were a medium, clearly. They were supposed to be like one of those, like, people and be like, hey, I can tell you your fortune, you know?
I keep telling you stories about... I keep telling you stories that I read of in the Uncle John's Bathroom Reader.
Yep.
And one of the stories is, I think it's the first mediums, or the first, like, I don't know. It was a pair of kids, twins.
Yeah?
Little girls. And they convinced their entire community that they could speak with the dead. And what they did, or how they accomplished this, was they got some people to sit in a circle at the table. And then they would ask the ghost of the person that they're trying to communicate with some questions. And then they would hear a rapping within the kitchen, just like a kind of sound.
Mm-hmm.
And the daughters, or rather the twins, they would interpret whatever it was that the rapping noise was making as words that the ghosts were speaking, or telling them. And it worked really well, and they got a shitload of money and publicity. But it turned out that it was all completely fake, because the secret was that one of the daughters, what she was doing was she was flexing her big toe, and she was cracking the knuckles of her toe, and that was what was making the rapping sound.
Jeez, that must have been some toe.
I can do it too. It's not that hard. Maybe not as loudly as she could, but nonetheless, like, it was still fairly loud, I suppose. And it was well enough to, like, capture the attention of an entire community. So I think, if I remember correctly, I think that's how, like, mediums got their start here in America, at least.
Fleecing people, yeah. Because that's what spirit mediums do, they fleece people. The cat we met at the beginning of the game ate the vole. Because he did say he was going to eat the vole, so there you go. He gave me his hat.
It feels so official. Well, that's a little extreme. But hey, the fool is gone, so we don't need to answer shit about God or whatever. So now you can just go.
But we're trying to find a star, remember?
Well, the star is to the east of the forest, I thought.
It is, but we have to get the permission from the forest god to pass, remember? Because they said the trees are going to confuse your path and such.
Alright, fine, whatever.
You have to see him. Yes? This is how you see the forest god. You speak to the shrine.
Doesn't see just anyone anymore.
Those days are gone. It's a bygone age. No one knows what you mean, they just know what you say. That's a lot of preaching right there. Like that's like every psalm and every prayer ever. You know? If you go to church and you don't have God in your heart or whatever, you can just say the words and people don't give a shit because you're saying the words, right?
Right.
Is the forest god only the god when I'm in the forest?
That's an interesting question, because it implies that... What's our character's name again?
Adina.
Adina. And it implies that Adina, like, God is within Adina, or maybe God is Adina.
And she's like saying, I have to step aside, leave my humanity to accept the forest god.
Maybe this entire thing, everything that we're seeing, the snowmen, the snow, the twisted trees, the cat, the totem, the vole, maybe it's all just like maybe it's all the forest god just fucking with Adina.
He's just here to be like, yo, you're coming to see me? Let me test you.
Maybe the coffin guy is the god.
And he's just being like, he's pulling one of those witch disguises.
Sure.
And he's like, I'm just testing you as a random person. I'm sitting here with my hat. Nice hat, by the way.
Well, if you get a nice hat, wouldn't you want to just sit there?
Sure. I'd be like all bishopy and
You don't
stuff.
sound very convinced.
I was never a
Rich.
religious person, you know that.
Well, you don't have to be religious.
That's true.
The cat just said that he or she feels very official while wearing the hat.
Is this gonna do something? You don't feel a great sense of awe and wonder? And connection to something larger than yourself?
Dude, you're just a cat. Get over yourself.
No. Yeah, I never felt any spiritual uplifting ever in my life, I don't think. Back in the world. Well, excuse me, princess. This is the world.
Still the same stars. Yeah, but my stars are better.
Yeah, if we're on the northern hemisphere, your stars are better. The southern hemisphere stars are kind of sad. There are very few interesting constellations in there.
You know, actually, that's an interesting topic that I've thought about once or twice, but never really put a lot of thought into it. What sort of constellations do you have in the southern hemisphere?
Well, we have the Southern Cross. That's the biggest one, and then that's really the only constellation that comes to mind when you think Polaris, the North Star. When you think Orion's Belt and the Big and the Small Dipper, you know, there are many more constellations that I assume are easier to find, or they stick with you more as kids. I mean, the southern sky is also a lot. I think the visibility there is a lot different. It's a lot different. Like there are fewer bright stars. You know what I mean? The northern hemisphere seems to be very cluttered by comparison. I'll be around to see your own kids. That's nice of you to say, Granddad. And that's not nice for you to say, May.
Nuh-uh.
You're gonna die before then. By the way, here's another reference to the main game.
I don't ever want kids.
Yeah, and how old is she when she's saying this?
She's like, what, 8?
Yeah, I want 2 big woolly barn cats and an old hound dog. And we'll all howl at the moon. That's a reference.
Does that speciesist?
It's the Goofy problem all over again. It's like the 4th time we invoked the Goofy rule. Goofy and Pluto, are they the same? Is one just a slave class?
Alright, so it looks like the storm's getting worse. Well, and then she jumped off the cliff. Yep, that's exactly how it went. Game over.
What? No, she didn't.
Nuh-uh. Who's telling the story, me or you?
And then she jumped.
Okay, but why is she jumping?
This is why I read you Charity Verity.
Charity Verity learns to charity. I feel like there's a potential for a naughty word in that line somewhere.
In the town of Charity, there lived a little bear named Charity Verity. Bay hates Charity Verity.
So we're just gonna keep doing this and learn more about Charity Verity?
Well, until the granddad loses patience with us.
It'd be interesting if we just do it so many times that eventually, like, the gap just bridges itself.
Well, actually, it will bridge itself later. The way the game handles it, the way the granddad handles it, is a little bit more restrictive, I want to say.
What? Does he take over the controls?
No, he just puts an invisible wall there.
No, she cried. I like sharing just fine. I like not sharing.
To force me to share is to say they're not mine.
That's not true.
That's collectivism there, dude.
It's capitalism. Was the bear she jumped on Charity Verity? See, now we're making an interesting collab. We're working together.
Jump, jump, jump! Even the grandfather's losing patience at this point. Even he hates the Charity Verity stories.
Aren't you getting tired of making this poor woman kill herself? Well, you know, if you'd stop jumping.
This story isn't even about her. Then she jumped. No, she didn't. She never jumped.
Ever.
Now I tried jumping one more time, and we can't. It's an invisible wall. So no more Prince of Persia.
That's way less interesting than my idea.
Which is what?
The gap bridges itself.
Well, there's a reason there's the gap here.
It's a blind bear.
Another Banjo-Kazooie thing. This guy talks like with sticks.
Let's share a snowball to his eye. Charity the snowballity.
Hey bear, did you ever hear about Charity Verity? Fling.
But the forest god will not entertain it, you.
It.
Kingsity, emperorsity, ones of higher importity.
Only those am I permitted to allow through it. I'm an empress, it. Yeah, she's an empress, alright.
She's an empressity. But I can hear that you are alone. That just means that she's a super badass empress.
Well, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, maybe I'm the empress of a nation of one. Bring our entourage.
Let's go get those snowmen.
You got the right idea. Basically summon up a bunch of ghosts and be like, hey, work with me here.
Have a pleasant longest night. It's like saying Merry Christmas while the person that's knocking on your door to come in for some heat is fucking dying. Why don't you just beat him in the face? There you go. Oh, you tried.
Let me through, damn it.
Okay.
Build that snowman.
This one's gonna be a little lopsided, or it's just gonna make it itself.
Actually, one snowman does get a little bit rounder or fatter than the other.
Does he ask you why you made him so fat?
I wish. Let's grab more snowballs.
Why do you need to make him special looking?
Because otherwise they become all dumb like that one snowman who's like, what am I? We need the actual spirits of living ghosts who actually know what the hell they're doing, you know? Yeah, see, this one's like much skinnier. So we have two snowmen. Now, do you remember I asked you a question way back when, asking you pick two of these four objects?
No.
I asked you about it between a bottle, a key, and whatever.
Oh. I was thinking about you asking me during the LP. But this was not in the LP.
We can only choose two, I guess, talismans to put in their face, as their face, but there's four of them.
I chose the bottle and the key, if I remember right.
Yeah, you did, because the other one was a keepsake and a dog collar.
A keepsake can be anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And keys are mysterious and useful, and dog collars are kinky, but not exactly useful.
Well, I actually made a mistake. The keepsake, I forgot what the last thing was, and I think it's a keepsake. It's actually a trumpet. So I imagine that, you know, being a trumpet, you'd be like, no, bottles and keys, because they're still useful, right?
Can you just take this guy's face?
Nah, because I think they're stuck in a grave. So there's a trumpet, a lock and key. I cut out about like 5 minutes of aimless wandering here because it's completely random when these objects come up.
And a collar. Okie doke.
So now that we've got our instruments, we can get the hell out of here.
And in the next video, I'm sure we'll figure out what is in that cave.
Oh yeah, we'll see what else is going on.